This is cs952 Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and let's just experiment with a little bit of some styling. This is not going to affect how the web page works. It's just maybe to make it look a little bit more interesting. So, as you recall, let me collapse these panels here for a second. So, as you may recall, and we only need to see live view, we have all of these elements are contained inside of a single div. And if I look in my status bar, I can see that this div, it's icons3. That's the name of the container that holds all of this. And you know, this looks just fine, but maybe I want to get creative. Maybe I'd like to do something a little bit different. What if I want to change the background for this? So let's go to our CSS designer. We want to make sure that we have style selected. This is going to be a global rule. And we want to change this for icons3. So I want to find the rules I've created so far for icons3. So type in #i. Okay, here we have icons3. We have rules for the glyphicons, for the containers. We have for the headings, for the anchors. We just want to go straight to icons3. And what if we want to change that background color? I can click over here on my background color, and maybe, let's see, this would be that same purple that we're using for the rest of the site. Let's click on that. Okay, oops, sorry, that's the lighter purple. What if I wanted to go with the darker purple? There's a darker purple, yeah. Maybe the lighter purple's a better choice. I definitely can't see the text, so let's change the color of the text. I'm going to change that to white. I probably should have done this earlier. Let's save that as a color swatch, because we'll no doubtedly be using that again. All right, looking better there. You know what might be neat is to use the same color purple that we have for the footer. So I'm going to go to my background. Okay, here we go. So this is the same color that we're using. Oops, wrong one. This is the same color we're using for our footer. You can't really see where one begins and one ends. But what we can do is we could create a gradient, for example. And we haven't really talked about gradients. We're going to leave this as our default background color. So let's look at a gradient. A gradient lets us transition between one color to another color. So I'm going to hit enter now, and we'll see what this looks like with these default gradient properties. That looks kind of interesting. You can see it's going from a white color to a red color. That was the default setting for our gradient. So how do we change these? Let's say I'm going to maybe have it end with that, and let me switch these back to hex colors. I'm going to have it end with that purple that we've been using. Okay, that's going to be my closing color. And then for my starting color, I could have it start with that slightly different color purple. So we're kind of going between two different color purples. This is our starting purple, and that's our ending purple. Let's hit enter and see what that looks like. Not too dramatic of a difference. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep working along these lines. Let's go to our gradient. Maybe for the ending color purple, I want a much darker color. So what I can do is use this lightness control in Dreamweaver and really make that a much darker color so that we really get a sense that things are changing. And then for my starting purple, I'll make that a lighter purple. Now let's see, what does that look like? Okay, that I think is definitely a more interesting look for our page. Let's close this. Again, we're just experimenting around. The icons, they look a little strange now. That red color that seemed like maybe it was a good idea when we were looking at the white background, maybe not such a good idea. So let's change our icons back to the color white. So we do that. This is our rule for our icons. It says icons3. It's an anchor. And then we want to go to it was a text property that we set. So let's change that to white. I'm going to enter. Okay. Now when you hover it, when you hover over the icon, maybe we'll try that red color out. Okay. So that's looking kind of neat. Now here's another property that we haven't used, that we covered in the tutorial, which was the text shadow property. Because remember, we can treat icons like Font Awesome and glyphicons. They're scalable vector graphics. The neat thing is we can use text properties on them, even though they're like images. So I'm going to go down to my text shadow property, and for my horizontal property, I'm going to give it a value of 0 actually. And I'm going to give it 0 for the shadow. So far, no changes. But for the blur, I'm going to put in, let's say, 30 pixels. Look at that. We get this neat kind of glow around the edges. And now that we can pick what color do we want the glow to be. Well, it could be any color. Right now, it's white. Let's change that. There we go. Now we've got that kind of black offset to it. That actually looks kind of neat. So let's see what this is going to look like in a web browser. I'm going to hit F12. Do you want to save the changes? Yep. And we'll scroll down and have a look at this. So this is kind of fun. This is sort of an example of some of the fun things we can do with CSS. What we had before worked just fine, but this is a way for us to kind of make the web page just a little bit more interesting. And then we can see when we break to our, this would be like our mobile view, we can see we still keep the effect of that gradient. And then we're opening it back up to our regular view. Okay, so we're going to move on now, and we're going to work with exploring showing and hiding elements.